This is a really bad idea.
I'm going into space, Daddy, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Fire! Crafsman, do you read me, Crafsman? Can you hear me?
Hello. Over.
Crafsman.
This is Crafsman transmissions coming in. Breaker. Over 10-4. Yes.
I wanted to ask you this. Like on the last Podcraft, you mentioned that you did a lot of work in manual labor, and boy, I gotta admit I've done my fair share of things out in the sun that I would rather have been doing anything else at that moment. But if you don't mind, tell me, I'm so interested in like how you've developed this massive skill set, you know, like I mean, I know, anyway,
well,
that's my question.
First of all, Tinu, I just want to say that's mighty kind of you to say that it's a massive skill set. That's really, I appreciate that, because I only think of myself knowing about 4 or 5 different things, you know, really. But, and I don't know them that well. But look, so let me just tell you this.
Dude, I have to interrupt you. You're like crazy skilled, man. It's like it's shocking how well you know certain things, and that's a compliment.
Well, it is. I take it that way. Thank you for saying that. To be honest, it's been okay. Let me answer that question. I have just had a natural curiosity my entire life. Okay, take apart a VCR. Why you have to unplug it first, by the way, everybody. Don't I made the mistake one time of, you know, taking apart things that was plugged in, and I made that mistake one time. But look, I just always had a curiosity about how does this work, and that eventually led into, and I would take toys, action figures, G.I. Joes apart, see how they connected, and that led into films. How is that made? How do they make somebody disappear? How do they put those scenes together? How do they put the music over top of it? And I, from an early age, was interested in that and doing a stop motion animation. But all of this was just, you of course would take second fiddle to the things that I had to do, which was always manual labor. And my dad preached to us, to my brother and me, that look, work builds character, and that's what we heard our whole life growing up, and it never meant as much to me as it does now, I think. And that's what I pass along to our kids who getting grown. They pretty well getting on up there in age now, you know, getting grown. And so I really feel like, Tinu, if more people just had did some hard work, a good old days of hard work. One of my favorite little scriptures is that the sleep of a laborer is sweet, but the rich man is permitted no sleep. And I think there's something special about it. You know this because you done hard work. Going to bed just feeling wore out, but you have the satisfaction of knowing that you did something, whether you just moved some dirt or put up a fence or whatever. You might have built you a pump shed or worked on somebody's house roof, something. It's a good feeling. And for me, it makes me appreciate all this stuff that you and I get to do so much better. I appreciate it so much more. But as far as how I know these things that you said, there's a lot of things which I don't, you know, I know just a couple things. Look, how do I know? I just always was being interested, and my wife would tell you that I shift gears all the time. All right. So one day I might decide to take a camera apart. I might try to learn about lenses. I might try to learn me some electronics, you know, resin casts and things like that. It just always, I don't know, I just get interested in things. I really And when I do, I get intensely interested in things, you know?
Yeah, I have. I've got interest in many things, and I get like obsessively interested in things, and it sounds like you probably do too. I've never been good at like taking apart. Oh, I'm great at taking apart things. I'm terrible at putting them back together. But but I wish I had like the skills for like electronics to be able to do like. You know, it sounds like stuff that you know a bit about, and maybe as I progress along this path, you know, it's always new things I'm learning. Like you know, one of my fascinations lately has been piano. I've been learning piano, how to play piano.
Are you for real? Look. So, that's I have no idea because I am just now for the first time in my life. And I'm not going to say I used to talk about how old I am, but that was become the less people know, the better. Because if I tell people how old, then it's not. They get upset about it. But what was I saying? Look, I started learning music theory, Tinu. I started learning.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
I don't know where I get that phrase from, but that's awesome. Tell me more.
No, I didn't mean, I want to know about your piano because I just, for the first time, if I go up into a church or somewhere where they got a piano, naturally, would sit down and play what I call a chord, which a chord is more than one note put together. And when you got three notes, it's called a triad. And that's what most of your chords is. I did not know this until about 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. Oh, I bumped the microphone. I did not know this till about 2 weeks ago. And so, I just know that when I would go to a piano, naturally I would space my fingers apart, and I said, well, that sounds decent right there. At the time, I did not know I was playing a C chord or something like that. To be able to explain why you do something or understand it, isn't that a powerful thing? Because I just would pick out a melody or figure out a chord and not really know why, not know what the name is I'm playing. So tell me about how you where are you at with learning the piano, and how much music theory you learning and everything?
I know a little bit, but I got one word for you, and that's circle of fifths. So maybe that's three, but anyway, the circle of fifths, man, that right there is the key to everything. And I don't know if you remember this video I did on color theory. With the color wheel and the neutral gray.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, you got a color wheel. Well, the color wheel and the circle of fifths inside of music are, there's so many similarities. And ladies and gentlemen, if y'all hear something, there's a big media shower outside. So if y'all hearing some background noise, it's either the plumbing in my spaceship or this media shower. So just ignore it, please.
I was wondering.
You hearing something?
Yeah, I heard something sounded like a meter, but I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, you gotta watch out. Sometimes they have those monarchs out here too, which are those things that they eat the electrical wires.
Oh, Star
Not
Trek.
good.
Yeah, Star Trek. That's scary. Color wheel, complementary, triad colors, split complementary. You was getting ready to break it down.
There's so many similarities, but let me tell you this about the circle of fifths. And are you familiar with the circle of fifths?
I am. I don't know it as well as you know it. I can already tell you, but I just know the term, the phrase, or as some people call it, the word circle of fifths. I just know of it, you know.
Gotcha. Well, check this out. You go try this on your piano or your guitar or whatever instrument later, and any of you guys out there, if you're not familiar. But basically, you can look at whatever chord you want, right, on the circle. So unlike the color wheel, there's the outer circle, which is one chord, and then the inner circle, which is another chord. And the outer circle is going to have a major chord, and the inner circle is going to have a minor chord. So starting at 12 o'clock, and I'm not gonna kill y'all with boredom on this, but starting at 12 o'clock, there's a C chord. That's your basic one that you start off on with piano, and then under that is an A minor. Now what this means is that scale, an A minor scale and a C major scale, are the same exact scale. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It just starts on a different note.
Well, that's
It's
what.
fascinating.
Yeah, I did. I never understood the whole. You mentioned scales. I never understood that until recently. So you take the major scale, which I think is whole, half, whole, half, or something like that, semitone or note.
You got it.
In Britain, I think they call it semitones over there. But so you can take anywhere, like you already know, start on A, and then you go. Let's say it's in the. You writing a song, you want it to be in the A. Scale key of A, and you want it to be the whole scale, the major scale. You just start at A, and then you say, all right, I need to use the notes that is this many apart, a whole, half, whole, half. All right, like on a piano, and that's terrible, Crafsman, how you explain that. But like you just said, you could pick any key that you would like, and it's that same pattern over and over, the same pattern that you would use.
Yeah, it's
I didn't know that. I didn't know that till about 2 weeks ago, Tina. And I've been on this earth for quite many years. I should have been known that.
Well, the coolest thing about the circle of fifths is that if you pick any of those notes on the outer or the inner scale, or around the circle, whatever notes are directly on the side of it, right? So you're gonna have you have your outer circle, your inner circle, and then on the outside you have 2 more. So there's 6 whole chords there. You can play any of those 6 chords together and it's gonna sound musical. So it's always like, you know how sometimes you're playing a chord pattern and then you switch to a chord and you're like, man, that does not sound good.
Yeah, discordant, I think they call it.
Yeah, and you can make those work. It just depends on the kind of melody. But if you always play just one note over from that circle of fifths, and you can just download a copy of the circle of fifths and just look at it and start on the A minor, and then play an A minor and a C, it's gonna sound good. If you play an F and a D minor, that's gonna sound good with an A minor and a C. And then if you can keep going. You just go to the next note over, and just try it. It's fascinating. Anyway,
that's the best way. That's the best way that's ever been explained. And really, I haven't dug into it as much as as hard as I need to. But I really, I didn't know I was going to be getting a little extra boost on my music education today. How much I owe you for that, Tino? Bill me, cause that's you making me want to go print that out and look at it now. Cause I mean, you just broke it down in a visual way, which is how I have to understand things.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm just learning. I'll have to tell you, man, the piano is a challenge for me. I've been playing guitar since I was much younger, and bass. I like guitar, bass, and I can take a keyboard and sequence stuff and then input stuff and play, and then I quantize it because I'm terrible. And but what I'm trying to do is learn to play the piano, but kind of like everything I do, man, I'm real kind of bullheaded about things, and maybe that's not the right term, but what it is I like autodidactic. That's gonna be the term that I'm gonna use.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
That's a $3 word right there.
Oh yeah.
But so that means that I'm teaching myself. So and I like that, and I know that you're an autodidact. I know that you teach yourself stuff. I can tell.
I did not know I was diagnosed as that until just now, but I do like to teach myself. I've never really had an issue with picking up a book, or I understand the value of going and taking lessons, but I could just as easily read something, or especially have somebody, like I said, show me. Like if you did a Cajun piano catastrophe video, I would watch it and we'd be able to probably learn from it, hopefully. But you're a good teacher, so I know I would learn.
I certainly have never thought of myself in that capacity, and like I'm so I don't know, interested in the evolution of what my channel is gonna become, because to be honest, and this is for anyone out there, I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, I understand the certain technical aspects, but to be honest, I'm trying to let this thing be as organic as possible. So, you know, like I'm trying to find a balance in the format, because besides you, Crafsman, and you know, like, I don't think it's any shock out there to anyone that like you were the singular inspiration from my channel. You know, that you, like, I had all these skill sets that I've been working on my whole life, but I never thought that there was a way that they could always be put together. Like, and well, I did kind of think that there was a way, but the way that I thought of was that, or the closest thing I ever thought that I was gonna get to it in life was being a film director. You know, like maybe a writer, director, and that's something that's always fascinated me. And I have directed some small stuff, and I've even directed like B units on movies that actually had money. But so I was like, well, maybe I'll do that. But to be honest, when I saw your stuff, you know, I watched it, and I frankly fell in love with it. And it was maybe after watching for a couple of months, I was struck with this inspiration that, to be honest, it was the most clear inspiration I've ever had in my life. You know, now, I've had moments where other crazy things happened where, you know, it was very clear what I needed to do, but not in a creative capacity like that. And I was like, oh man, this guy, he's doing everything that I love. He's into molding and casting. He loves old toys and action figures, and you know, we differ in taste in certain things. But you know, I was like, look at his editing and filming skills and his sound skills. Those are so rare to find in a person. I mean, I've been around production and editors and stuff for a long time, and my friend, you are a rare gem. And I'm not just talking about like, I'm just talking about just that one small aspect. You could take that and turn it into a career. Trust me, you don't want to. You're much better off where you are. But I was just blown away and floored. And the inspiration was like, I think that I could do something similar to what he's doing without like completely ripping him off. Which, you know, I gotta admit that when I first started, it was a little closer to that, but that's only because still trying to learn, still trying to find my own thing, and that's exactly what I'm still doing. Yeah, anyway, that's how all art is done.
That's I don't know, really, it's hard for me to respond to. That is just, it's incredible. I mean, I don't really use the word amazing too very often unless I mean it, but just hearing somebody to tell me that what you just said about being inspired by my little video to the point that you would to be a little bit of a, do you mind if I say the word catalyst? Is that okay if I say catalyst? To be a little bit of a,
it's only marginally offensive, but okay.
To be a catalyst for the moment when you realize all the things you've been building on and refining and sharpening throughout your work and hobby experience, and you to be there for that, to be my little channel, to be something that you say, look at that, that's what I can do. That's incredible to me, Tino. That really, please know that right there is taken to heart. I do not take that for granted.
Man,
I will never
problem.
forget that, what you just said right there.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but man, it goes way beyond that. To be frankly honest, like you, in my opinion, it's you're not just like, oh, well, here's a guy who did, a certain kind of video and I like that kind of video. When I saw it, I was like, wait a second, this guy, he's created a genre. Like, this is not just, a video style. It's like, a whole new genre of something. And so, so that was like completely inspiring. And to be honest, it was also one of these things, like if there was 100 other craftsman type things out there, I probably wouldn't have thrown my hat in that ring. But what I did was, after I burned through all your videos and watched them, the first thing I did was start searching for that other creator who's like Crafsman, because I just hadn't had my fill. And then, I'm waiting for your next video to come out, and your next one. And then I was like, you know what, man, there's room for like 10 or 20 of these kinds of things, you know what I mean? For if people are interested in consuming them, as long as they're well done. So, man, I think it's probably a good thing to try, and so.
I'm so glad that you did, Tinu. It really is, it kind of hurts my heart a little bit thinking about if that would not have happened. Like if you would have said, I don't need to do this. Just imagine, I am so grateful that you did go on ahead with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful, and I know the people listening, you've got, I hope you're feeling the love from your fans, and who just eating up your content, just like I am. I'm a fan. I'm waiting on the next Cajun Craftsman video, just like everybody else is,
Well, as stumped as you were for words a minute ago, I'm the same way when you pay me a compliment, because it's just, I don't even know how to respond. But the community, let's be frankly honest, my community is your community. Like, you shifted. I mean, it's 99.9% people that have come from your channel. I mean, I've gotten a few extras along the way, but not many. And I gotta say, man, you have cultivated a collection of the coolest, most open-hearted, kind people that I've ever seen. People say, like, boy, the internet, it's a real vicious place. And yeah, it can be, but your positivity that you're putting out there, it's is that like attracts like thing. It's, you've attracted other really positive people to you, and that's attracted, that attracted me. And then, like, luckily, they've mostly come over. But man, I don't know, they're just the coolest people. There's very rarely anything negative that I see, like, from this channel, and I'm thankful for it, because I'm still trying to learn this whole thing, and I may even not be tough enough to take it.
No, I think
if there was a lot of negativity.
Well, just going back to it is a wonderful community. I'm glad you brought that up, because I would just like to take the opportunity to acknowledge, there was a minute where I did not read. I used to respond to every single comment that would come in, and it got to be where, because I'm thinking, this person just watched the video and took time to tell me this wonderful thing they just said. I'm going to tell them how much I appreciated them doing that. But it just simply got to be, I was spending 2 hours every morning catching up on comments, and I said, I think that they will understand if I don't respond to everyone. So I've had to just sort of try to read them, and by and large, I have never seen a comment section that's the people that's on our channels, mine's and y'all channel, it's got to be just some of the best people in the world, Tinu, and they just watching our videos, and I'm so grateful. You will have a negative. I was talking to a fellow creative person that 1,000 good comments can come in, but the one he's going to think about is that one negative, and that is me. And I imagine you being a more conscientious, sensitive,
Yes.
if I can call you that sensitive person, you probably would deal with that too. That one negative comment might bother you. But how do you deal with that? What's your response to that?
So yes, like one negative comment can stay in my head for a while, and I'll actually point out one of the very specific ones. And so right after you sent a bunch of people over to my channel, there was this woman, and you know, I don't know, hopefully she watches the channel now. I don't know, maybe she was upset. She was like, well, shame on you for copycatting Craftsman, and just, you know, like this is wrong and you should be ashamed of yourself. And it went on and for a while. And you know, I had told myself, don't respond to things like that, and frankly, that's good advice. But on this one particular issue, I was like, let me respond to her, because she's not wrong. Like, it would be disingenuous of me to read her comment and say that she's off the mark, because she's not. I was 100% inspired by you. So, and you know, her anger is disconcerting, how vehement it is. But so what I said was basically that I respected you, and that I thought you had created a genre, and that in that, what if the first band that had come up with jazz, that's all the jazz we get, no more. You can't, no other band can play jazz, because you know, that band came up with it. So rock and roll, we only got one rock and roll band now. So one horror movie, you know, on and on and on. I could continue listing examples. I was like, that would make the world a lesser place. And if you've studied art history, and you know, like the creative fields, crafting, it is art. If you study art history and look at their early career, you can see exactly who they were influenced by.
That's right.
And then you see them start to branch out.
So I think that.
And do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to touch on something.
I was done. Yeah.
First of all, I'm sorry that you received that. It does hurt my heart. I got to be honest with you, because I don't want somebody to. You know, we all influenced by somebody. When some, okay, let me just put it like this, and if she's listening, for whatever it's worth, the first time I saw y'all channel, the first thing in my mind was never, oh, this is somebody ripping me off. I am upset about this. I was absolutely delighted. The person who sent it to me suggested that you know, that I might have been inspiration for it. And gradually, the more I watched, I could kind of see that. But to me, there was just so much of your own unique charm, and you doing things that I said, oh, I need to do a little bit of things like that right there. I need to take time and do what he's doing, because it's really he's putting more effort into some of these little sequences than what I do. And so I never thought, you know, oh, he's ripping me off. But I think the problem, and what might have made it stand out to her, is if we go back to what you said, that you looked at it like it's almost like one person in a genre. Well, let's say the second. I'm trying to give a good example without trying to make it sound like, if you go back to jazz music and the first person to do it, I guess the second person to do it probably would get more flack than after you done got 50 jazz musicians. Then it's just become kind of one of them things. But now, that's not to elevate myself to the status of somebody that invented jazz, because I sure ain't doing that. They, you know, I just look at myself.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just look at myself, and I just do crafting video, and I never set out to be. I get lots of comments. Okay, I was accused of copying Bob Ross one time. Not one time. That happens just about every week. But I never, and I respect Bob Ross, and I enjoyed his program when this came on PBS, but I never got on the internet and said, let me just be doing craft like I'm Bob Ross. I never really understood the comparison. I think what people means is Bob Ross, after he done passed away, has had a second life now. All these people watching him, not to paint, but just to relax and get a zone out in the peaceful sort of environment that he creates in his program. And and I never set out to do T-New, I didn't even know what ASMR was, by the way. I was introduced to that when somebody said, is this ASMR? They said it kind of like accusatory, like, you know, like this is made of ASMR. So I said, what in the world? I had to go look it up. I did not know ASMR. I was not trying to be any particular thing but doing crafting video, you know. That's it.
Yeah.
And I don't look at you as in a way whatsoever negative. I mean, I just love what you do.
Yeah. Well, that was never in question, my friend. You would have never done what you did. But I gotta say that you're an anomaly in that case, because there's, you know, like, I mean, I can't say everyone, of course not, but a large amount of people tend to get defensive first, and I think you're an exceptionally open-hearted person. And I think, by the way, I'm having another media shower up there, so it might sound a little noisy on your end. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in a spaceship, what can I say? But your demeanor and your open-heartedness is just it really comes across on camera, and just I think people feel that. And anyway, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's something that I try to. Well, let me just say this. There's a lot of questions about who is Crafsman really, and I've actually had a comment before, like, he can't really be that nice in real life, and that one kind of was funny to me, kind of caught me off guard. Genuinely, anybody that knows me in real life and knows me as Crafsman, I do accentuate my character for my online presence. I have been working on my delivery, you know, for about 5 years now, trying to get better and better. But now the niceness is not an act. You know, my heart, that's not something I just, you know, I'm not just a mean, grumpy person. Then we rolling and all of a sudden I'm going to be nice to everybody. It's just part of who I really am. And, you know, it's interesting to interact even with you right now as Crafsman. But what you're getting is my real heart, who I really am, what I've always wanted to do, what I'm passionate about. I really do care for people's well-being. I do on a daily basis. I try to help people that reaches out about, you know, mental health and well-being. But that's not just, I'm not just faking that being nice thing, like you said. And I appreciate the kind words about the open-heartedness, you know.
Oh man, it just reads through so much. And you know, like, I have to say that for myself, I'm WIP, man. As we all are, I am a work in progress, but I've made so many leaps and bounds, like over the last 10 years. Last 10 years I've been working hard on myself, and you know, for the longest time, man, it just seemed like there was no payoff. And then some of the payoffs started coming, and man, I gotta admit, they're addictive. Once you start learning that being nice is man, you're doing yourself a favor by being nice to other people. I mean, you really can start to see how, like, some of the things they talk about in Star Wars, like, you know, like, you know, like not wanting certain powers will get you certain powers. Like, no, I'm not talking about being powerful. I'm talking about, like, when it's sort of almost selfish you could be nice to people in almost a selfish way because it's going to work for you. like you're being nice to yourself. Now, I'm not saying that I'm being selfish by being nice to people.
That's not your motivation. It was never your motivation to just say, I'm going to selfishly be nice to these people. I know exactly what you mean. It's almost like a side effect. You realize it after the fact. You say, hey, all of a sudden, well, hold on now. I'm giving and giving, but man, do I feel good about it.
Yeah, well, and the trick is like, man, whether you call it God or the universe or your heart or just whatever, there's a million names for it, or if you call it nothing at all. But it's you can't pretend to be nice to someone and have it work for you. You have to, in your heart, be nice, and then you'll just start seeing these good things working out for you. Things just start to synchronize. And I know, like, I'm a big, this is a big part of my life. And like we said, I think in the last podcast, is that this stuff is bleeding through, and it's always going to bleed through my work, and it bleeds through your work too. And I think that, you take, you're a fine example of I'm not exactly sure what your denomination is, and it doesn't really matter. But that...
Well, I would just... Yeah, I mean, I just tell people anytime somebody, I'm a believer of Jesus Christ. So I would be a Christian, and that's the term they used back in the day. In Antioch was the first time people started being called Christians in the New Testament. But is sometimes you get a knee-jerk reaction when you say that, because when you say that, it comes with baggage. They automatically think of the time they went to church and was judged, and hypocritical experiments or either just downright scandalous things might have happened to them as a child or something. But man, I hate the bad things that's associated with people that's behaved wrongly. But for me, it is all about sharing that love, that Jesus was the most selfless act ever that a perfect man could do. And I'm thinking, so with me, Tinu, if I'm being wrong, if something happening, I think, well, that's somebody right there that took it all and did not have to. He just did not have to, but he gave so that we could live. And I'm not trying to preach. I never want to hit somebody over the head with the gospel. Jesus is a gentleman, perfect gentleman. And, he just stand at the door and he'll knock. He ain't going to barge his way in, kick the door down. FBI, Jesus, FBI, open up. But look, it just, for me, it's about sharing that love. And as far as the denomination, that's just, hey, I use the.
Well, you're a beautiful example of. To be honest, the bad rap that you're obviously very aware of, and I think a lot of people are, is that if more people who practice that were following the teachings of Jesus himself and not getting caught up in all these other details, and the devil is in the details. The problems start there when you start basically trying to dissect everything to make it work out for you in a certain way. And like, even you can back it up even further from Jesus and just say like, yeah, that's cool, that was a great dude who lived, and man, he's a fine example of how to live. But you can back it up to like, and I'm not sure if he's the one who said it, I think he was, but the golden rule.
Yeah,
you could stop stop there. I mean, you don't need all this other stuff. It's back to that in-heart kindness that we just spoke of.
Yeah, he actually was the one who, that's his, he didn't copyright it, but he came up with it. But I hope YouTube does not give us a copyright notice for using it,
They might, if they can trace the family still, we might be in trouble.
Right. But going back to what you said about Star Wars, I was thinking about something. No, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. It's when we do these things, when we live in this way, going back to happiness, it's just like they say with when you giving and being happy and sharing that love. It's just like they tell you in Star Wars that you will live long and prosper.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, imagine that. It's like
Tinu, that
making a whole
Tinu, that was a joke right there, Tinu. I don't want your audience to be upset that I always be confusing Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh no, I love it. I was just gonna say that it's so amazing that they made Star Wars as a TV show in the 1960s that you couldn't make today.
No, you could.
Like,
that's right, you could.
because it's all about like being accepting of everybody with differences, and that's another thing. Just so y'all know, people of the world. I mean, we may and Craftsman too, but we may skim the outer orbit of slightly political things or slightly religious things, but that's not what this podcast is going to be about. But for Craftsman, and I'm speaking for you just slightly here, and let me know if I'm speaking out of turn. But it's so integral to what I'm doing and what he's doing that it's impossible to fully separate. And frankly, I don't want to try to fully separate it because that would be disingenuous.
I appreciate I appreciate the way you articulated it.
Oh, thank you. I wanna circle back to something real quick, and then we'll probably wrap this one up.
All right.
But I wanted to circle back to you. You talked about people leaving comments and not being able to respond to comments. Now, as of the taping of this podcast, we are you're climbing up onto like 450,000 people, and I'm climbing up to like just a little bit over 14,000. Now that's a vast gulf of difference. Now at the moment, I'm trying to respond to everything that people comment on, but I can see it, my friend, that that window is closing because it will not be physically possible to keep putting out videos and answering these comments. And just so, I mean, the people listening to this are on Patreon, and so I want to be able to focus my attention to these people because you guys are really supporting both of us.
That's right.
But to be honest, every single person that is watching these videos and loving them and commenting on them, not only would I like to respond to everyone if I could, I'd love to sit down and have coffee with every single one of them and speak for hours on end, if only that were a possibility. And you can, but I guess this is just one of those realities that you start to learn when you get into something like this, of like, oh well, why don't people respond to this? Or I left a comment and they won't respond to that, and you're like, oh, okay, now I understand. This is happening to them thousands of times a day.
That's right.
And
that's right.
yeah, and unless it's something like when I did the happiness is a skill video, and you touched upon this earlier, so many people with depression issues, or one lady told me that she had watched it 5 times, and it was the only thing that got her out of bed that Sunday morning was thinking about what I had said. And I gotta tell you, I'm tearing up right now thinking about it. Like, that touched me so much, and I was like,
Yes.
man, if this thing stops right now, if this little tiny train stops right now, I'm good. I'm good.
Right. That's powerful. Oh, mercy. How do you, and Tinu, that's where it gets something like that right there. And see, that's what oh man, that'll get to you right there if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's big stuff. That's beyond all the. Oh, anyway, I'm an empathic person, so I see things like that, and I automatically trust.
You can make things flow with your mind.
Well, that's right. Tina. Well, that's going to be on another episode. But
Oh, okay.
what I meant to say was, I'm somebody who hears somebody else's situation, and I don't just. Tinu, I don't watch the news anymore. I quit watching it because I would see something about a bus full of people, something bad happened to them. I don't just go on about my day. I'm thinking the rest of the day on into probably the next month about those people and their families, and just sad things is what they really show us on the news. It's like saying, here's what you need to be sad about, or here's what you need to be outraged about. And I just quit watching it. If it's something important, if we got a hurricane coming, somebody gonna let us know personally, one of my family members. But getting back to what I was talking about, these
I'm sorry, can I quickly interject? I don't watch the news either, and I don't suggest that I can't tell people what to do, of course, and I don't want to tell people what to do, but man, not watching the news is one of the best things that I've ever done, especially even all the political stuff inside of YouTube. Since I'm on YouTube a lot, I've gone into my settings, and any videos with political stuff or news related stuff that pops up, I actually go in and tell it not to recommend that channel to me, so I'm not even seeing it in my mind's eye. It doesn't even lodge into my brain. But I'm so sorry for cutting you off, my friend.
No,
please continue.
Oh, don't ever apologize for that's a very good point, and we on the same page about that right there. But
yeah, I don't even have cable TV. I don't even.
We don't either.
Yeah.
Now the most high tech we got us one of them little Roku, and we can do watch YouTube on our television, and they got a thing called the Hulu, but it's you might have to pause it, let it catch up with it, and then cause our internet's terrible out here, Tino. But anyway, you tell me that the comments that so all right. That comment that was left for you from that sweet lady who was talking about how powerful your video was for her. If when I read comments like that, I absolutely have to comment back to them. And I'm not saying that by the way of saying like, oh, you need to, but it almost got to a place where I tried to read most of my comments. I just find every single one that I read, I almost have something I want to say to it. It's almost like I don't want to call it a trap. It ain't a negative thing, but on Instagram, they got a tab over on the right side that's called message requests or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even go look at it because I get probably 25, 30 new messages every day, and it's just, I will never in my whole life be able to catch up on all the messages. And I do feel bad about that on one hand, but on the other hand, if I start looking at it, then I'm just going to fall into that spiral of, well, let me knock out this next one real quick. Well, they need help with their action figure. Oh, this is a young person that's showing me the essay. Let me look at it and comment back to them.
Right.
It just keeps on going and going and going, but
I know, and it is hard because, it's a hard thing for me to admit, but I even realized that, just me responding or you responding to something, because I remember the first time you responded to one of my comments, it was a very special moment in my life that I'm never gonna forget. And so when people are commenting to me, I realize like, oh man, anything I say to this person, they're really gonna devour it, because while there's 500 messages coming in for me, this guy might have 2 or 3 from his friends, a day or whatever. And so this is a special thing, and I'm not trying to say communication from Tinu is so special. That it's just it's hard to talk around some of these points without sounding like you
right.
You're full of yourself, but that's not at all.
I think everybody knows that you're not. That I think they understand that you've definitely got a ton of humility. That's one of your attractive qualities. Some people give a presentation of they got it all put together and can be a little bit arrogant, a little bit, know it all, but. You have so much charm in what you do, and I think that's why people coming over, and I like it. It resonates with me.
Well, thank you. And just so, how about we wrap this one up? I think this was a longer one, but let's wrap this one up. And just on that last thing is like, I would love to be able to respond to everyone, and we both realize like it's special. It's just sheer logistics when it comes down to it, and yes, like we can both go down a rabbit hole where you like, let me just respond to this one guy, and then
one more.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hours goes by, and then by that time you're not inspired to go to a crafting video.
That's right.
And then so you find and really what it's funny, and we'll talk about this more in depth, I'm sure, at some point, but procrastination is a funny, sly trickster. Like he will do cartwheels and stuff to get your attention, but also sometimes he's just a subtle whisper.
That's a really sometimes and my wife helps me to recognize, Tinu, sometimes procrastination will disguise herself as work. And so we may just be needing to do a video, but here we are, just researching, quote unquote, or responding to messages. And like you said it earlier, and I told somebody this a couple of weeks ago that I know in real life that knows me, knows the channel, and they said, what about all the message that comes in? And I said, well, I could run a post hole digger all day and still not get as woe out feeling as I do after a day of just responding to messages. And I don't say that to mean begrudgingly, nothing like that. It's a privilege. But I think you would be the same way as me, because I don't just give. Whenever I have reached out to people in the past that I admire, and they come back with just thank you, have a good day. I don't like to do that. I give people a piece of my heart, and I tell, if they having a mold problem, I done wrote them 3 pages on here's what you can do, and try this and try that.
Right.
And I need to be building me a frequently asked questions thing, but even then, will I direct people to it? Probably not. I probably just help them with their individual case, and then like you just said, you won't feel like making a video after. So it's about.
Yeah, it does.
And
it does just kind of wear you out.
And my wife is helping me. I just want to say shout out to Craft Mama, because man, she on Etsy alone, we can get, that's where we sell things right now, which we're moving over to a different platform, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But we get more messages on there than we do actual sales and things, and people will just contact you about, hey, can you help me with this problem and then this right there, and not really buying in person or anything. They have a technical question, and so Craft Mama has helped me so much responding to people. And so that's the team. I don't have people ask if you have a team for your social media. It's just me and my wife doing it. So yeah,
same here. Like my wife is she's my biggest Patreon, I gotta tell you.
Did you tell people, by the way, that your wife, she paints?
Oh, yeah, everyone, I don't know if y'all know this, but my wife, she paints, and y'all should check her stuff out. It's Maguire Art. Thanks for reminding me about that, Crafsman.
You're welcome.
Well, look, I think there's a solar flare. How about we shut this one down, and we'll talk to these good people like pretty soon. What do you think of that?
That sounds good to me, Tinu.
Okay, well, look, from CraftPod 13, this is Tinu. This is Captain Tinu, signing off. Craftsman, I'm gonna talk to you later.
Transmission complete. We have I'm trying to think of something scientific to say, Tinu. I have failed you. Mission failed. We will try again. Over. This has been a privilege, and I'm floating into space. Tinu, I hope you can hear me. Thank you for the opportunity today.
I love you, Craftsman.
Love you too, buddy.
Over and out.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Craft 13.